change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. Why we always looking for more? Why we always looking for more?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome here to race number 13 of the 5th season of the NNSCRA Duracell Cup Series. We're back to Daytona, the place that started it all here this season, but today these drivers get ready for the left and right-hand corners of the road course configuration. It's the first time that the Daytona road course has appeared on the Duracell Cup Series schedule, and we've had some good road course racing here already this season. Pukaka in Australia, or rather New Zealand, bringing us a really exciting event. So we'll see if this road course can double down in the excitement, maybe the strategy, and maybe potentially a surprise race winner. Got some really cool storylines coming into this race. Of course, you go back to Michigan, where Alex Tanker got his first career win. Sean Arndt, a couple of weeks ago, got his first career win at Texas. Matthew Rodriguez last week at Darlington, snapping a winless streak that went all the way back to season 1. Could somebody here today be able to write their own chapter in what's already been a storybook season since the very beginning? But these drivers are going to be preparing for 25 laps of racing here today. The likelihood of us seeing a caution coming out would be slim to none, but the thing that's really unique about this particular racetrack, almost kind of like the Charlotte Roval, but even more so, is the fact that this is half road course and half super speedway. Maybe more 3/4 road course and 1/4 super speedway, but I really feel that the super speedway sections are going to come into play into a lot of the passes. I think the setting up the pass is going to take place through the road course section. The super speedway section is where the passes will be made. The road course section covers the entire infield here of the Daytona International Speedway. We will see NASCAR Turn 1 to the back straightaway, and then from NASCAR Turn 3 to NASCAR Turn 4 down to the start-finish line. That's where the super speedway will come into play. We'll see how much of a factor it's going to be, but I certainly think that it is going to play a big part into today's race. We've ended up running in the past other Roval type racetracks. Matter of fact, this is very similar to Pensacola Road Course. People remember we actually ran that track back in season 1. If I recall correctly, Ryan Butcher was the winner of that particular race. Let's take a look at the point standings coming into this race, because things have gotten even closer, if that's possible. Pigeon Racing now is the only multi-car team, with Carson Gum winning back at Nashville and Matthew Rodriguez winning last week at Darlington. They have 2 points advantage over the 8-car of Haas Racing. Pierce Crow and Matthew Rodriguez were first and second last week, so that those 2 teams continue to duke it out for the overall point standings lead. You've got Michael Norman Motorsports right there in third, Auto Junction Racing 78 in fourth. I believe the 78 is starting up inside the top 5 here today. The 1-car starting a little bit further back through it in the field, inside the top 20 though. The 2017 for Joanne Edwin Motorsports still strong there in 5th. Of course, you got the 11 and the 93 also with victories, so they would be in playoff positions. Some teams that have been strong here in the early going, like the 38, the 47, and the 01. Could we see one of those 3 teams go to victory lane today? If they do, they would be in a playoff position based on them being so high in points. Not many of our former winning teams in the 11th through 20th bracket, the 2 teams out of Pigeon Racing, the 32 and the 6. Everybody else here all looking for their first win as a team this season, for a number of drivers looking for the first win of their career. And then you go down here to the cellar, and this is interesting because, these are guys that are obviously doing well as far as finding victory lane, but they're not accumulating the points that they need. That 48 team out of Northeast Motorsports, the 74 team out of Electric Autosports, they need to either get a second win or really start accumulating points. They got to be up inside the top 15, top 20 in the point standings, because I've said it before, I'll say it again, we're only halfway through the season when this race is completed, halfway through the regular season. And there's going to be, I believe, multi-win teams by time we get to the end of the regular season and begin putting the playoff grid together. And you cannot be mired down here in the point standings with one victory. That's just not going to cut it. Same can be said for the 77 team there in 26th. And of course, the 95 team out of Evan Gardner Motorsports, with them not starting out the season at Daytona, missing the first couple of races. They kind of started in a little bit of a deficit, but they've done a heck of a job, though, week after week, being able to now make their way up within striking distance of moving up into 27th and higher in the point standings. So we'll keep an eye on that during the course of the day. Cody Smart doing the driving duties for the 95 car here today. Let's go down trackside. Let's get the pre-race ceremonies underway and get ready to turn these cars loose at the Daytona Road Course. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Drivers, start your engines!
As the pace car is going to lead this field around the winding infield road course up onto the super speedway sections, we'll be giving your starting lineup in just a moment. I want to remind everybody here as well, didn't really touch on this at the beginning, but really should. This is the last opportunity for drivers to be able to lock themselves into the All-Star race through a race win. After this, they'll be heading to the Charlotte Motor Speedway for All-Star race break and have to make their way in via the Open. So as everybody starts to get themselves doubled up here, Carter Friesen is going to be your pole sitter for today's event. A former road course winner if I recall correctly, Season 3 Lime Rock, I think, was where he got his last road course victory. He'll be alongside of the 39 of Keith Batson. Charles Sanford and Dylan Poteet will make up row number 2. Ryan Butcher and Jesse Turner back in row 3. Jack Mitchell, Levi McIntyre in row 4. Michael Wayne Robinson and Daniel Silla are going to complete the top 10. Kyle Matthews and Benny Watson, they're back in row 6. Amanda Evans and Pedro Lucas, row 7. Top 15 complete by Phil Parker, who will be alongside of Dylan Young. Joshua Osborne will be alongside of Matt Haas in row 9, and completing the top 20, Florida native Cody Lamas alongside of Patrick Smith. Austin LaPlante and Cole Baker, they make row 11. James Qualls and Trey Wright back in row 12. Andrew Lemke and Nick Gunther, they will be in row 13. Tim Walsh, Carson Gum back in row 14. And it will be Cody Smart in the 95, bringing up the final 29th position here today. All of these drivers, with the exception of Daniel Silla and Cody Smart, took part in the season opening Daytona 500, so it is their second trip this year to the World Center of Racing. But I guarantee you, the drivers that did well here earlier on this season, we don't look at them as the favorites to end up winning here today because it's an entirely different racetrack. The road course ringer is going to be coming to the forefront. We've only run, as mentioned, one road course race this season. That was back at Pukekohe, and that was, I believe, the secondary drivers that took part in that one. Zach Rogers going to victory lane. Guess what car he drove? The 6 car. And that car is starting on the pole position. So could it be back-to-back road course victories for the 6 team out of Pigeon Racing? Well, this track is not without trouble spots. The hard braking zone, left-hand turn 1. A lot of drivers overdrive that particular section. And then, of course, the 2 bus stop areas. Bus stop that you saw them go through there on the back straightaway. And then the upcoming chicane coming around to the start-finish line. Those are going to be a couple of places in particular that drivers are going to have to be aware of in terms of not only their braking zones, but the braking zones of others around them. There's that other chicane I was talking about, leading them back to the start-finish line, very similar to the chicane they have on the front straightaway at the Charlotte Roval. But the pace car peels off to pit lane. And we're ready to go road course racing here tonight under the lights at Daytona. Carter Friesen, Keith Batson get us underway. Let's roll. Treacherous area right there to go double wide. Looks like everybody's going to get through safely. As Ryan Butcher takes a look to the driver's right on Keith Batson, nothing doing. 5th place under contest, couple of Chevrolets. Dylan Poteet in the 31. Jack Mitchell in the 01. Ooh, off the track, a couple of cars with the right side tires. Keith Batson was one of them. Ryan Butcher looked to capitalize. Jumps to the outside through this right-hander, but not going to be able to complete the move. Looks like everybody has been able to keep it on the course, at least for the moment. It's Carter Friesen gaps Charles Sanford. Now this is an area where we're going to see the draft come into play. There you see Levi McIntyre. Got a nice toe on the back of Kyle Matthews within striking distance, and he will try and see if he can utilize the slipstream to get around the 09. This is a battle, I believe, for the 8th or 9th position. Amanda Evans going to enter into this mix along with Daniel Silla into the heavy braking zone chicane on the back straightaway. McIntyre might clear. Matthews tries to run him out of room. Forces him back up to the top. Look at Daniel Silla. Thought he might actually jump to the outside of Amanda Evans, and Matthews will hang on to the spot for the moment. That opens the door for Amanda Evans to try and take a position away from the 99. Now the 44 jumps up to the top side to offer drafting help. And here they come down into the heavy braking zone chicane on the front straightaway. Looks like the top 8 have gotten themselves single filed. Now the top 10 will get single filed out. As Carter Friesen continues to show the way. Charles Sanford, look at how low he is there on the entry to turn 1. Let's see if he can close up the gap. He's right there on the bumper of Carter Friesen. That was a nice corner, but oh man, you see there? He took that shallow entry. It gained him ground through the center of the corner, but then Carter Friesen, taking the turn wide, was able to get back to the throttle sooner and ended up gapping the 0-3 once again. Good battle back here. Phil Parker, the 74. Cody Lamas in the 1. Pedro Lucas in that vicinity as well. Dylan Young back there trying to make a move on Matt Haas. Seeing a lot of dust getting kicked up there, with drivers getting their right side tires off the racing surface and into that grass. Oh, someone ran wide. Is that Benny Watson in the 32? Pedro Lucas might have as well, and that's going to cost Benny Watson a couple of positions. And we're going to see more and more mistakes the longer a race goes on, especially a road course race. I can't tell you how often I end up seeing, we get into like the second half of a race and you start to see driver mistakes. And they can be costly, especially with the fact, too, that I think we might end up seeing green flag pit stops in this race. So pit strategy could play a factor into the outcome of this race. Carter Friesen continuing to show the way here on Charles Sanford. Looks like everybody's gotten themselves pretty spread out. Benny Watson's got a wad of cars behind him after all that momentum that he lost getting off course. And let's see if we can take a lap around the Daytona road course. You know what? He's reeling in Carter Friesen. Let's go on board with the 0-3 of Charles Sanford. Takes over 2 minutes for drivers to make their way around this racetrack, over 3 miles in length. But just like that, I was not only noticing that Charles Sanford got such a good run there through the front straightaway chicane, but Keith Batson and Ryan Butcher also started to catch up, along with Jack Mitchell. So we could have a 5-car fight for the race lead on our hands here in a few moments. As I said, you kind of use the road course section to be within striking distance of the driver you're trying to pass, and then you use the super speedway section to try and set the passes up, try and get the run and complete the pass. Another thing I was observing there when we were on board with Charles Sanford was the, I don't want to call it fear, but the hesitance to get back on the throttle sooner than you should. I mean, especially there through that right-hander they just went through. He coasted it through, and I probably would have powered down a half second sooner than he did. But no, he waited a long time before he got back to the throttle. So I don't know if it's the fact that the sun's been beaten down on this road course here today. We are in Florida, so it's definitely hot, and I don't think that the nighttime conditions are going to cool the track down nearly as much as one would expect. So it might be a little slick there for these rear tires to try and find some grip, as Amanda Evans putting a lot of pressure on Kyle Matthews. That would be for 9th place. Levi McIntyre just behind this battle as well. So 9th, 10th, 11th right there under a blanket. See Amanda Evans using the draft, getting up to the back bumper of the 09. Can she get alongside before they get to this front straightaway chicane? Ooh, not quite going to be able to get there. Need another couple hundred feet to be able to make that work. But maybe if Amanda Evans can get back to the throttle soon enough, might be able to make a move down here to turn 1. I think that's what she's thinking. Is there going to be space? She's all over the back bumper of the 09. Peeks the nose. Is she there? Ooh, not quite to the left rear quarter panel. Ooh, maybe though. Matthews ran a little wide. Trying to get back to the throttle. Amanda Evans powering down. Almost hits the exit wall from pit road and will complete for the pass. Levi McIntyre now going to go on the attack, looking for 10th spot. So a nice pass there by Amanda Evans in one of the tougher places to be able to complete a move for position. And I think Levi McIntyre might swing around Kyle Matthews. Yes, he will. So Matthews loses 2 spots right there from 8th back to, or rather 9th back to 11th. Drop a little bit further back here in the field, and some drivers and teams that are doing well in the points are struggling. Oh, Trey Wright! He's into the tires. Completely overdrove that corner. He's into the tires. I don't think that's going to bring out a yellow flag either. No, the lights are still green around this road course. Oh, man, the former Daytona 500 winner. A team that came in 6th in points. And he is all crunched up. There is black smoke erupting, and if that car cannot make it back around and the leaders encounter it, that might bring out a caution. We'll have to wait and see. But I was talking about teams that are struggling, that are up there in the points. Well, that 38 team is one of them now. Carson Gum here in the 19 was the winner last time that these primary drivers took to a racetrack back at Nashville. He's mired back right now in the 28th position. The 11 team, 7th in points. Cole Baker right now running in 25th. And there's the 8 car, not doing much better, currently in the 20th position. Matt Haas, who ended up, last time we were here at Daytona, taking that checkered flag in the Great American Race. So who are the teams that are capitalizing right now to maybe get up there and take the points lead? Well, I would look at that 78 car of Ryan Butcher. That team came into this race 40 points out of the points lead, 4th in the overall standings. Is wow, hands full for the rookie Daniel Silla there, nearly snapping loose as he was trying to get by Kyle Matthews, and instead that loss of ground is going to bring him back into the clutches of Joshua Osborne. I mentioned the fact that we had run a track similar to the Daytona road course back in season 1. That was, of course, the Pensacola road course, the Pensacola Roval, if you will. And Ryan Butcher was the winner of that race. So you have to wonder if that gives him a little bit of an edge over the rest of the drivers here with those slight similarities. As he's trying to get the 78 car their first win of the season, 4th in the overall standings they are. 03 team could certainly use a big momentum shift here today. Not necessarily a win, although I'm certain they would not be disappointed with one. They're 15th in the points coming into this race, and they've had a couple of times with Charles Sanford, Jessica Shelton, and Cole Deaver where they've been in line for really good finishes and just caught up late in somebody else's mess. We've also got 39 here of Keith Batson. A great run for Cat Batson last week at Darlington, and Keith is looking to build off of that. The 39 team was down around 25th, 26th in points going into the Darlington race. They now come into this race 22nd in points, so they are slowly climbing their way up. And a good run, a good performance right now for for the Nathan's Hot Dogs Ford Mustang. Charles Sanford is much better through the second half of the course. He's been able to reel Carter Friesen in almost to get to his back bumper once they get to that front straightaway chicane. But he just can't seem to be able to set up a pass. Wait a minute. Oh, Charles Sanford gonna complete it. How about that? The moment I say he's not able to set it up and complete it, he proves me wrong. And Carter Friesen, just like that, is under fire for second position from Keith Batson. This looks eerily similar to what we saw happen to Kyle Matthews. So Carter Friesen, who led the first 6 laps of this race, now is going to drop back to P3, and Sanford is going to go to the points. Let's find out if the 38 car was able to make it back to pit road. It looks like he was. Trey Wright over driving that corner right there. A lap or two ago, and they are out of the race. So a tough break there for a former Daytona 500 winner. Of course, the 38 car, a championship winning car with Jordan Lopez back in Season 3. And they are the first retiree out of the race today. That's the tough thing with running into trouble at road courses, is the likelihood of a caution coming out slim to none, and so there's not a whole lot of opportunity to be able to rectify the mistakes that you make. Well, Patrick Smith in the 22 car, or in the 22nd position in the 77 car, I should say, there was a lot of talk coming into tonight's event between him and Ryan Butcher. If those two got in the same vicinity, what would happen? Because for those that don't remember, back at Nashville, Ryan Butcher was, I won't necessarily say en route to winning, but he was certainly looking like one of the favorites to win that race. He caught up to his teammate Patrick Smith, who was the last car on the lead lap. Smith was blocking, and in the end, it ended up wrecking both the 77 and the 78, taking the 78 completely out of the race. And so a lot of people wondering if there was bad blood between the teammates and if it would reconcile itself here today, but neither one of them are in any way close to each other. So I don't think that that's necessarily going to be a storyline in this one, and maybe that's a good thing. Kyle Matthews continuing to free fall. Lost a spot to Daniel Silla. He's now going to lose a spot to Joshua Osborne. So when and if we get to around the green flag pit stops, I think that the 09 is going to be making some major changes to try and get him a little bit more comfortable. Just kind of, I don't know if that car looks like maybe a little too tight in these corners and not able to carry as much speed, not able to get back to the throttle as quickly as he would like. Jesse Turner and Amanda Evans battling it out for 8th position. Turner will hang on to the spot at least for the moment. Evans looking to set Turner back up again. Levi McIntyre right there also. And there's the 93 and Michael Wayne Robinson just up ahead. So both of the KAB Racing Enterprises cars having good performances here tonight, with Batson up in 2nd and Robinson in the 7th spot. Keith Batson now trying to reel in Charles Sanford for the race lead. Last time by, Batson was quicker than Sanford by about a 10th. A 2-minute, 1 second 4 for Charles Sanford and a 2:13 for Keith Batson. Of course, the draft would have come into play with that on the super speedway sections. And there's Batson. You can see reeling Sanford in. Got a nice tow there through NASCAR 3 and 4. Closes up the gap here through the front stretch chicane. Carter Friesen does the same thing. Nose to tail the top 3, and let's see if Batson was able to get back to the throttle. No, I think Sanford was sooner than the 39. So I don't think Batson's going to have a shot down here into turn 1 just yet. Remember, too, when Charles Sanford made the pass on Carter Friesen, he ran a much lower entry into turn 1. Top 3 right there all ran the identical same line on entry as Batson and Friesen get a little loose there. That's going to lose them some ground to Charles Sanford through this right-hand turn 3. Amanda Evans got around Jesse Turner, so move her up to 8th. Turner now under fire from Levi McIntyre for 9th place. So Amanda Evans is on the move in the 65 car. Amanda started this race from 13th and now up 5 spots from where she originally started. Another car that is also on the move would be Joshua Osborne in the 27, right now running in 12th and started back in 17th. So you're starting to see drivers that had their cars set up for the long run beginning to make forward progress here. How about that 0-1 of Jack Mitchell? 0-1 team coming into this race 10th in the point standings. Jack Mitchell, of course, a former winner. Was in the playoffs last season and trying to see if he can get Adrenaline Motorsports into the playoffs this season. Mitchell started 7th, currently in the 5th position. And Dylan Poteet, the 31 car, which right now is the, I believe, last Pigeon Racing team to yet find victory lane. The 32, the 6, and the 19 have all found victory lane for a total of 4 times. So Dylan Poteet, Ryan Brommer, and James Shelley are the last drivers to yet have a victory, as Poteet ran a very shallow entry into this corner to try and defend against Michael Wayne Robinson. Looks like it's going to work at least right there. But Robinson within striking distance. Ooh, had to take the corner wide. Loses a bit of ground here, and Amanda Evans may not be done with battling for 8th position. Jesse Turner going to get a run on her there. Things rather stacked up from 6th place back to, I believe that's 12th, where you find Daniel Silla and Joshua Osborne. Good run there for Daniel Silla. Making the 2nd start of the season, made his debut back at Nashville. His team out of 4 Racing Enterprises has been doing really well with the performances they've had in the limited number of starts. Chris Washer was a big player back at Texas. Of course, Reggie Fogelman had a great run, a top 3 run in his debut back at Michigan. So this 44 team doing a very good job. The only Dodge in the field this season. We're going to follow this battle for the lead again as Batson and Friesen are within striking distance of Charles Sanford. We'll see what they can do here on the Super Speedway sections heading towards turn 4 and the front stretch. Right now, Carter Friesen has led the most laps with 6. Charles Sanford, if he can hold on here to the start-finish line, he will have led his 4th lap. Trying to get that bonus point for most laps led. Oh, they all overdrove it. Oh, they're coming to pit road. Never mind. They're coming to pit lane. Sanford, Batson, and company are coming to pit lane. Ryan Butcher is in as well. I thought they all overdrove the corner in unison, but you actually do not go through that final chicane to come to pit lane. As that turns the race lead back over to Carter Friesen, who will lead that lap. So that's the 7th lap led here tonight by the Wendy's Chevrolet. Interesting, all those drivers coming down pit road at the completion of lap 10. So that says to me that they are going to have to pit at least one more time before this race is over. Somewhere in the vicinity of 5 to 6 laps to go. Jack Mitchell elected to stay out an extra lap, as did Michael Wayne Robinson, Amanda Evans, Jesse Turner. As we got everybody leaving pit lane here. Got to be careful through this very narrow pit lane entry, or exit I should say, entry onto the track. Looks like they're all going to slowly maneuver their way through. Charles Sanford was the leader of that group off of pit road with Keith Batson and Ryan Butcher. And there was some contact apparently on pit road. Pedro Lucas with some right side damage. We'll see how that affects him for the remainder of this race. We unfortunately, with that camera shot, we're not able to see if anybody had left side damage. Kind of figure out who it was that Pedro made contact with. Think we're going to see everybody that didn't pit the last time down pit road this time. And so that would put them 1 lap better on fuel, which could be a difference maker into how much time you spend on pit road for your final pit stop of the evening. Instead of staying to take on 6 laps of fuel, you'd stay to take on 5 laps of fuel. And Friesen is indeed coming down this time. Jack Mitchell is going to come down here as well. Does anybody risk it and stay out yet another lap? Looks like the answer to that is a resounding no. Everybody's going to snake their way onto pit lane as the battle potentially for the race lead when things cycle around is on. Keith Batson with fresh tires. Made a little bit of an adjustment maybe there on pit road, and he is ready to pounce on Charles Sanford. Ryan Butcher drove it deep there into that chicane as well. Oh, Batson's there. Batson is absolutely there. Will he make the move down here into turn 1? There he goes. Slingshot engaged to the inside of Charles Sanford. He'll hope to get the pass completed before they get out of turn number 1. Not quite going to be able to do it. Sanford will battle back. Batson mashes the throttle. Barely avoids the wall. He'll go in front of Charles Sanford. So now the question is, does he get out ahead of Carter Friesen and Jack Mitchell? No, he does not. Staying out that extra lap was beneficial to the 6 and the 0-1. They're going to cycle around to first and second. The pass we saw from Batson to Charles Sanford was actually going to be for third. So how about that? Jesse Turner, Daniel Silla going to battle here. I'm not sure what position this is going to be for, since we're going to wait for everything to cycle around next time by. Dylan Young, Kyle Matthews. They're going to battle here for a position. A couple of co-owners of the We the Coasters YouTube channel. Check that out if you get a chance, if you like roller coasters. Of course, Kyle Matthews with the Kings Island sponsorship, a theme park that has roller coasters. And now Batson on the attack of Jack Mitchell to move to second place. And it looks like he'll complete the spot. Sanford looking to the inside of Mitchell. He's got Ryan Butcher with him. This is where the super speedway effects come into play. 2 cars, always better than 1. We going 3 wide. Butcher looks a little bit lower. Sanford saw that, came down and blocked. They're going to go double wide here through the final chicane. We don't see that very often. Mitchell backed out of it. Very, very smart. And the battle for the lead is on. Well, Friesen had it, but maybe not for long. Keith Batson. His tires have gotten warmed up. He's found the grip, and he wants the lead. Look at Carter Friesen run that low defensive line into turn 1 to make sure that Batson could not get to driver's left. Might overdrive the corner here, though, as a result. So, who's going to keep it straight? They both do. Batson is still right there. So far, Chevrolet has been the only manufacturer to lead here today. With Friesen and Sanford, Batson looking to be the first blue oval to complete a lap in the race lead here. So the big question is, do you want to get the early track position with pitting 1 lap later, or do you want to have a car that's able to then just work its way back up to the front like Keith Batson? I mean, Batson cycled around to third. He's up to second. He's within striking distance of the lead, and that was after he was one of the first to hit pit lane along with Charles Sanford. Still want to keep my eyes on this battle for the race lead, but we're going to also show you through the field of where everybody cycled around after that round of green flag pit stop. So Carter Friesen's the race leader. Keith Batson second. Charles Sanford is in third. 4th place, Ryan Butcher. 5th, Jack Mitchell. 6th place is where we find Michael Wayne Robinson, Amanda Evans in 7th. 8th place will be Levi McIntyre. 9th, Joshua Osborne. And Dylan Poteet just dropped back to 10th place on this previous lap. 11th is Jesse Turner. Daniel Silla in 12th. 13th, Matt Haas. 14th, Phil Parker. 15th, Kyle Matthews. Dylan Young in 16th. 17th, Benny Watson. 18th, Austin LaPlante. Cody Lamas runs in 19th. And completing the top 20, Andrew Lemke. 21st, Tim Walsh. 22nd, Patrick Smith. 23rd is Pedro Lucas. 24th, Cody Smart. 25th, James Qualls. Nick Gunther back in 26th. 27th, Carson Gum. And last car running on the lead lap is Cole Baker back in 29th. It's hard to tell from this angle, but there might be some front end damage on that Arizona Iced Tea Toyota, which might be why he is as far back as he currently runs. As battle for the lead was on into turn 1, but nothing doing for Keith Batson, at least this time. Ooh, and he overdrove that corner. Got loose. Friesen's going to drive away. Sanford now looks to maybe get up to second spot as Jack Mitchell will try the outside here through the right-hander on Ryan Butcher, who caught that little rumble strip there, that runoff area, and that slowed him down just the least little bit. If you're just joining us, we are now more than halfway through tonight's race. 29 drivers started, 28 still running and on the lead lap. Issues for Trey Wright, overdrove a corner, nosed it into the tire barrier. His evening is done. He will finish in 29th place here tonight. As far as at the start-finish line, we have had 2 drivers take the lead. Carter Friesen has led 10 laps. Charles Sanford took a turn out in front for 3 circuits. And these drivers still, according to our calculations, have 1 more pit stop to make. And that's going to be within the next 6 to 7 laps. The 6 looking for their second win on the season. The 39, 03, 78, and 01 teams all looking for their first. Michael Wayne Robinson would be looking for the first win of the season for him, but second for the 93 team. And then the 65, 99, 31, they would all be looking for their first win as a team. The 27 team would be looking for their second. Alex Tanker, the former winner of that car, Osborne, looking to get second win of the season for the team and first of his career, as Keith Batson, I thought, might be thinking about making a pass for the lead there. He ran very low into turn 1, but was not within striking distance. Battle is going to be for third place. Ryan Butcher, Charles Sanford. Good representation of manufacturers up here inside of the top 5. You got 3 Chevrolets, 1 Ford, 1 Toyota. The lone Dodge in the field of Daniel Silla still running strong back in the 11th spot. He actually just completed a pass on Jesse Turner for that position 1 lap ago. Ryan Butcher is putting the pressure on Charles Sanford, tries to swing wide. Oh no, he's going to swing too wide. Off the racing surface goes Butcher. And that allowed Jack Mitchell to bypass him for 4th place. Costly mistake there for Ryan. Good news is he was able to recover and not lose any more positions. It's a bit of a distance back to Michael Wayne Robinson, so he only loses 1 spot as a result of that miscue. This is 15th on back. Kyle Matthews, Dylan Young, Benny Watson there in that mix, along with Austin LaPlante. They're trying to catch up to the 8 of Matt Haas, who right now runs in 14th. Remember, the gap between the 19 and the 8 in the overall standings was 2 points, with the 19 team having the advantage. But right now, Carson Gum, mired all the way back in the 27th position, has not made up really any ground during the course of this race. With the 8 car running in 13th, they are certainly going to be ahead of the 19 in points. Whether they have the points or not, I'm not certain, because the 78 car is up towards the front. The 27 is run up inside of the top 10, so I'm not necessarily certain if there will be a points lead shift for the 8 car or if somebody else will be up at the top of the point standings when we conclude this first half of the regular season. A couple of Fords going to duke it out. This is for 8th. Osborne. Ooh, I thought he wasn't going to complete the pass, but McIntyre got loose there in turn 2, and so therefore Osborne will move up another position inside of the top 10 to the 8th spot. Dylan Poteet right there in 10th, looking to capitalize for 9th, not able to do it on Levi McIntyre. Still, though, very close amongst your top 5. And that's what makes that interesting, is the fact we saw just how close they all were when the first round of green flag pit stop cycled around. So it's it's going to be a game of cat and mouse, I think, here for the end of this race. Also, worth noting, most drivers went about 10 laps before they came to pit road. That was the average lap that drivers went. Some drivers also stayed out an extra lap, but if that's the case, these drivers could come to pit road now. The fuel window would be open to make it the rest of the way from here on out if they so chose. Another thing that's going to be interesting to see here as well, if they do a full fuel run, they're going to have 10 to 11 laps on their tires. Do you just stay on pit road long enough to be able to get the fuel necessary to get to the end and not take on any tires on this final pit stop? Because I think if you take 4 tires, it would be longer than it would be if you stayed on pit road to just get the necessary fuel to get to the checkered flag. I mean, even if you stay on pit road to fill the car up to make it 5 extra laps, if you consider that's half a fuel run, so you could maybe go with a 2-tire strategy, but I don't know if you would necessarily want to go with 4. We started this race in twilight conditions. The lights had just come on around this facility, and now we are completely bathed in darkness and getting ready to find out who is going to get the final win of the first half of the regular season heading into the All-Star race. We already know a number of drivers from last season, from that All-Star race to the end of the season, that are locked in. From this season, we've got Matt Haas, William Micros, Robert Crown Jr., Cole Baker, Bradley Ream, Ryan Acosta, Austin LaPlante, Zach Rogers, Alex Tanker, Carson Gums, Sean Art, and Matthew Rodriguez. We know they are all locked into the All-Star race. There's going to be a lot of drivers that are going to look to race their way in. You're going to see a lot of similar numbered cars on the racetrack, much like we saw in the Clash at Bowman Gray earlier on this year. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun when we get to Charlotte. And, of course, that's the precursor to then kicking off the second half of the regular season. Longest race of the year, the Koch 600, one of the crown jewel races. Got 2 good battles going on here. One for the 10th position and one for the 12th position. Daniel Silla, the rookie, trying to get by Dylan Pote. And just behind them, Phil Parker trying to get by his teammate Jesse Turner. There's the 2 Air Force cars out of Lake Effect Autosport. Still had a nice exit there. Swung the corner out wide. Going to get a good run on the front straightaway. Dylan Pote might be under fire here into turn 1. Will Silla dart left? Yes, indeed he will. See if he can complete this pass in that Blue Def Dodge Challenger, and he will. Not even waiting until we got to this little crooked section of turn 2. Completed the pass right out of the exit of turn 1. Friesen's pulled away. 3 car lengths in hand to Batson. Another 4 car lengths back to Sanford. This is going to be the battle inside of the top 5 for third, as Jack Mitchell gets to the back bumper of the Koch Vanilla Chevrolet. Projected 2 to 3 laps before these drivers will absolutely have to come to pit lane for their final pit stop of the day. Let's see what Friesen does here. Does he stay out an extra lap? Does he maybe kind of throw down the gauntlet and come to pit road? We saw how Carter Friesen got the race lead back from Charles Sanford, pitting 1 lap later than Sanford did. Thought that maybe Keith Batson was going to reel him in and take the race lead, but Friesen, at least for the time being, has been able to keep that car out in front in clean air. So I feel that Carter Friesen is going to stay out as long as he possibly can again this time. And he will not pit. Neither will Batson, neither will Sanford, Mitchell, or Butcher. So the top 5 will all stay out an extra lap here. Good to see drivers, I think, duck onto pit road coming to the completion of lap 20. Others will be on pit road at the completion of lap 21. I thought Mitchell might have something for Sanford there into turn 1, but Charles Sanford also thought that, and he made sure he had the low entry into turn 1. Might cost him a little bit of ground, but it keeps the 0-1 at bay for the time being. I don't remember if it was his last victory, but I do know that Carter Friesen, I believe it was Season 3, had a road course win back at Lime Rock, which was one of, I believe, 3 victories on the season that year for him. So he definitely knows how to get around the road courses. He's proved it here today. Started on pole. As a matter of fact, if you go back to the qualifying results, didn't make much of it, but it really is worth mentioning. Carter Friesen's qualifying lap time was a 2-minute, 2-second .585. Now, why is that significant? Because the next closest to him, Keith Batson, was a 2-minute, 2-second .766. That's almost 2/10 quicker, Carter Friesen over Keith Batson. And then it was a huge distance from third place on back. Then you were hitting .9s. So you had a .5 and a .7 up on the front row, and then .9 on back from third place on back. So it's no surprise that we're seeing it be Friesen and Batson duking it out here in the closing stages of this race. I mean, they proved that they've got fast machines even before we took the green flag to start this race in qualifying. But it's a question of who wants it more. For both of them, it would be the first win of the season. It would not be the first wins of their career. Keith Batson, I believe, is a 2-time winner. Carter Friesen, multi-time winner, including a Daytona 500 victory. It'd be the second win of the season for the 6 team and the first win of the season for the 39 team, which would be huge if you consider the situation for KB Racing Enterprises. If Batson can win here today, that is both of the KB Racing Enterprises cars that have gone to victory lane. Of course, we had William Micros put the 93 car in victory circle back in the second race of the season, Manassas. Boy, Batson's so good to get to the bumper there before they get to turn 1, but then he messes up in turn 2. Same deal for Jack Mitchell with Charles Sanford. And speaking of that 93 car, it was a 5-car breakaway. All of a sudden, Michael Wayne Robinson has reeled them in, bringing Amanda Evans and Joshua Osborne along with him. So don't count these guys out. These guys could play some strategy that could get them up here to the front of the field in this closing stages. Let's also remember, too, that the first road course race of the season, Pukaka, we had a photo finish. Well, Daytona International Speedway is very well known for photo finishes based off of the super speedway configuration. But could we end up seeing a photo finish here tonight? Alright. If my projections are correct, Friesen can go another lap. Sanford will be in this time. Batson should be in this time as well, along with Ryan Butcher. Friesen and Mitchell should be able to go an extra lap. This is around the full fuel window from what we saw back around laps 10 and 11 when drivers made their first trips to pit road. Let's see if Carter Friesen's going to play the strategy, stay out the extra lap. Could Batson have saved a lap here running the draft of the 6? Time will tell, and we're about to find out. Who peels onto pit lane this time? Friesen's in. Batson's in. Everyone's coming in except for Jack Mitchell. The 0-1's going to play the strategy and stay out the extra lap. Nobody else inside of the top 8 going to play the strategy. How about the rookie Daniel Silla? He'll stay out an extra lap. Much fewer drivers this time playing the strategy of staying out an extra lap. We'll see if it helps or hurts them. There's some more back there. Austin LaPlante. Nick Gunther. Like that's Patrick Smith. I can't tell. Oh, that's Tim Walsh. As Carter Friesen wins the battle off pit road against Keith Batson. Batson had a very good short run car after the first cycle of green flag pit stops. We'll see if he's got anything here for Carter Friesen. And Jack Mitchell hoping that this extra lap, the less amount of time spent on pit road, might be the difference maker in him winning this race or not. He was 4th when everybody else hit pit road. Daniel Silla, he was 8th, and he also has stayed out in the 44. We'll see if there is a pickup of positions for both of those drivers, who are undoubtedly going to be on pit road this next time by. Let's drop back, follow the Friesen-Batson battle. See if this is going to be a battle for the race lead, potentially the race win, or maybe for second place, dependent on how the strategy works out for Jack Mitchell. Best battle right now might be going on between Ryan Butcher and Michael Wayne Robinson. Well, they were close to each other coming onto the Super Speedway section. 78 has since gapped the 93. It's Carter Friesen opening up a little bit of distance on Keith Batson. Batson's been really good through the second half of the course, though. We'll see if he can try reeling in Carter Friesen. Where's the 0-1? There he is. He's on pit road. Going to come down to the attention of his crew. He's got the number 7 pit stall. Here come the rest of those drivers in. Nick Gunther's going to stay out yet another lap. Along with Cole Baker. Gunther now up to 3rd. There's no way he can make it. He's going to have to come in. Same for the 11 car. And Mitchell down and away. Where's the 6? There's the 6 coming into view. Mitchell's got to be careful here through pit lane exit, not to hit the wall. There's Friesen. Can Mitchell get out ahead of the 6 car? Up through the throttle, I think he might have him. But can he get up to speed? Mitchell's going to be ahead of the 6. But Carter Friesen's got his tires warmed up. Jack Mitchell does not. But Jack Mitchell, did he just pull the move of the race? Can he keep Carter Friesen at bay to pick up the victory? Doesn't run off course there. Friesen's on the attack. Runs it wide, does Friesen. Maybe a little too wide. Mitchell playing defense. Trying to block the shorter way through these corners. Here's where the difference maker is going to be here in the Super Speedway section. Can Friesen get a run on Mitchell? Batson's within striking distance there as well. Jack Mitchell pulling off the strategy. It very well might work. This team coming into this race 10th in the point standings. If they get the victory, they would be in a playoff position. Friesen very frustrated right now, trying to get around Mitchell. Look to the outside line. Mitchell's going to defend on the bottom. Friesen goes up top. Batson's right there as well. 3-way battle for the race victory, coming to 3 to go. And if these guys get racy, Charles Sanford might get in the mix. Now Batson going to try and get alongside of Friesen for second. Mitchell's got to love that. There's Sanford now into the mix. Oh, Friesen had to back out of the throttle. He loses a spot. Batson now up to second. Nick Gunther is in. Daniel Silla stayed out an extra lap. I don't think he's going to cycle to the lead because he's just now getting onto pit lane exit. But I think he will definitely improve his finishing position here tonight with that strategy. Nick Gunther was also on pit road. Oh, Batson and Friesen both swung wide. Daniel Silla is going to be out in front for a moment. He led that lap, by the way, as well. Oh, and now Jack Mitchell's going to get to his outside. Wait a minute. Silla might have the preferred line here. Can he hold off the 0-1? Daniel Silla, are you kidding me? He's going to cycle to the race lead. Although, here comes Mitchell again. Side by side, Mitchell and Silla. And Mitchell clears. Or does he? Yes, he does. Jack Mitchell clears. How about this race in the closing stages, the strategies we see coming into play? And just like that, Jack Mitchell, Daniel Silla are in the conversation for this checkered flag. Keith Batson and Carter Friesen, who have been duking it out since the start of this race, now fall back to 3rd and 4th, along with Charles Samper trying to get back into this picture. Well, we saw the miracle 2 weeks ago when the startup team, the 95 team out of Evans Gardner Motorsports, went to victory lane with first-time winner Sean Arndt at Texas. Daniel Silla is trying to pull off a Cinderella story just like that, but he did lose touch there with Jack Mitchell through NASCAR turns 3 and 4. He is going to get some drafting help from Keith Batson, though. Look at the big run they're going to get into the final straightaway chicane. Friesen right there along with Sanford. Ryan Butcher's now in this mix. Michael Wayne Robinson's in the vicinity. Crossing the line, it will be 2 laps to go here at the Daytona road course. It's going to be 7 cars to mix it up as Sanford drove it shallow there into turn 1, trying to get 4th place from Carter Friesen. Completes the pass and now sets his sights on Batson for 3rd. All these drivers so close to each other. A lot could change heading into the back straightaway chicane, the front straightaway chicane, with what takes place with the draft on the straightaways. Daniel Silla's losing touch, though, with Jack Mitchell. Mitchell finally out in clean air. We saw him putting the pressure on Sanford for 3rd place quite a bit. Probably had the faster car. Now that there's nobody in front of him, he might be able to pull away with this race win. Battle might be for 2nd place. Daniel Silla trying to keep Keith Batson at bay. Batson's got a rear deck lid full of Sanford, who in turn has a rear deck lid full of Carter Friesen. About 8 car lengths from Mitchell back to Daniel Silla as they head on to the NASCAR turn 1 into turn 2 and onto the back straightaway. Let's see if Daniel Silla can close up the gap between himself and Jack Mitchell here. With a little draft from Keith Batson, I don't see that gap closing up at all. Mitchell, if anything, is pulling away. And he will see the white flag next time by. Jack Mitchell started this race from the 7th position. And he is looking for his first victory on the year. Carter Friesen tried to make a last-ditch effort there to the top side of Charles Sanford for 4th place. Nothing doing just yet. As Jack Mitchell through the front stretch chicane, this time by, he will see the white flag displayed over the hood of his Adrenaline Motorsports Chevrolet. Daniel Silla, Keith Batson, battled for 2nd. Charles Sanford, Carter Friesen, battled for 4th. Battled back there as well for the 6th position between Michael Wayne Robinson and Ryan Butcher. Silla plays defensive against Batson. Friesen couldn't make the move on Sanford. Robinson couldn't make the move on Butcher. Mitchell is gone. Jack Mitchell pulling away. The battle will be for 2nd. Keith Batson started 2nd, wants to finish 2nd. Daniel Silla started 10th, wants to get the runner-up spot. As now Sanford pulls away from Friesen, in control of 4th. Robinson still there with Ryan Butcher for 6th. How about Joshua Osborne? Started 17th, en route for an 8th place finish. Amanda Evans started outside the top 10. She's in line for a 9th place run. And Levi McIntyre right now hanging on to the final spot inside of the top 10. Still single file from 2nd back to around the 9th position. We'll see what kind of a battle culminates here down the back straightaway with a couple of corners and a couple of chicanes to go. But this is not the battle for the race win. Jack Mitchell, about 2 seconds ahead, currently cruising around this racetrack. Just looking for that checkered flag. Batson showed the nose for 2nd, could not do it. Wadded up now with Silla, Batson, Sanford, and Friesen. As Jack Mitchell, just one final corner to traverse here. The front straightaway chicane. Jack Mitchell gonna put Adrenaline Motorsports in victory lane for the first time this season. He will come around to the start-finish line and he will win the first ever Duracell Cup Series race at the Daytona road course. Silla hangs on for 2nd. Batson in 3rd. Sanford and Friesen will complete the top 5. What a race here tonight at the Daytona road course. We saw the strategy coming into play in the closing stages, and what a call by the 0-1 team. I don't know if it was the crew chief or the driver that had the input into staying out that extra lap, but it paid dividends. Same deal for Daniel Silla, who stayed out 2 extra laps and brings it home with his best career finish in second place on the podium. A big points day as well for the 39 team, 22nd in points, following the great run by Cat Batson 1 week ago. And Jack Mitchell's going to get to burn it down here for the first time in Season 5. That right now puts the 0-1 team in a playoff position, and also locks Jack Mitchell into the All-Star race next week. I believe that everyone has crossed the start-finish line. The standings should be official. And indeed they are. Jack Mitchell with the win, Daniel Silla in second, Keith Batson up in the top 5 all day, as was Charles Sanford and Carter Friesen. They'll get 3rd through 5th. Ryan Butcher brings it home in 6th, Michael Wayne Robbins in 7th, Joshua Osborne 8th, Amanda Evans and Levi McIntyre completed the top 10. Dylan Poteet was 11th, 12th for Jesse Turner, 13th, Phil Parker, 14th, Austin LaPlante, and Tim Walsh will bring it home in the 15th position. Remember, the 48, 15, and 55 all played the strategy of staying out an extra lap. They're going to get finishes up inside the top 20 as a result, with Gunther in 16th. 17th for Patrick Smith, Carson Gum going to finish up in 18th after spending most of the day at the rear of the field. Cole Baker 19th, Cody Lamas in 20th. 21st place is where we'll find Dylan Young, Benny Watson back in 22nd, 23rd for Matt Haas. And so the 78 car notwithstanding, the 19 will stay ahead of the 8 car in the point standings. Cody Smart will finish in 24th. James Qualls back in 25th. 26th for Andrew Lemke. Kyle Matthews had his hands full today. That car just started free-falling through the field really since the outset, and he'll finish 27th. Far back was Pedro Lucas. We saw he had that damage on the right side of his machine. That obviously affected him on the super speedway sections of the course. He finished his last car on the lead lap in 28th, and Trey Wright never reached the conclusion after overdriving, I believe it was turn 6, into the tire barriers. End of his evening in the 29th position. Well, Jack Mitchell, the winner here tonight, no doubt about it. The point standings are certainly going to get shook up heading into the second half of the regular season, but it's now time for All-Star break. We head to the Charlotte Motor Speedway next week for the All-Star Open, the All-Star Race festivities, non-points, just pride and purse on the line. Of course, maybe some momentum heading into the second half of the regular season, the part of the season I like to call the chase towards the chase for the championship. Of course, that will kick off still at the Charlotte Motor Speedway with the Coca-Cola 600, longest race of the season. Hope you guys will join us for all of that in the upcoming weeks. Thank you for joining us here tonight at the Daytona Road Course. Hope you guys enjoyed this race. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and come part of the crew today. We've shown you the full finisher results. You'll see the point standings more than likely at the beginning of the Koch 600 in 2 weeks' time. Until then, I've been Seth Cole. Thanks for joining us here this evening as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the NNSCRA offline racing at its best.